on paper, Kingdom Hearts probably should be like my favorite franchise ever.
It is a franchise that I'm so mixed on, but I love so deeply.
There is a lot of games by this point that have like randomizer mods or things like that, but I feel like Kingdom Hearts 2 is one of those games where just its gameplay style combines really well with the randomization or just the structure of it.
I saw a game with Mickey Mouse on the cover and I was like, hell yeah, I'm in. Sign me up.
What's your favorite game? Come on the show, let me pick your brain. We've all got favorite games. No takes too insane here on Your Fave Game.
Hey everybody, I'm your host Josh Busker, and welcome to another exciting episode of Your Fave Game, the online talk show where we chat with some of the most creative people from across the internet and ask them the most important question of all, what's your favorite game? Today we are joined by Dusty Daddy, a Twitch streamer and YouTuber with a love for classic games and randomizers. How you doing today, Dustin?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
I'm doing pretty good. It's been a nice, uneventful Wednesday, except for me stepping on the USB that powers my lighting equipment. So that's why I'm invisible today.
I mean, like, you can't have any sort of like online presence without having technical difficulties. Every time I stream, every time I'm recording something, it's like I'm going to run into a plethora of technical issues. So that's just how it goes.
I've been in mortal combat with Adobe Premiere for the last couple weeks, trying to get the episodes I've already recorded actually up on the YouTube channel. So it's been a very tech problem heavy week, but we're rolling through it. We're rolling with it. So yeah, I guess just before I ask the titular question of the show, was this a difficult question for you? Do you have a lot of games that come to mind for favorite game or?
Yeah, actually. So like I actually had to talk to my friends about this because firstly, my favorite game of all time was already covered on your show. And I'm like, well, I can't just talk about the same game again. I'm an Ocarina of Time lover. Like Ocarina of Time is a game that I play religiously. I love the randomizer, especially. Like I try to play a randomizer at least once a month with Ocarina of Time. Awesome game.
Oh,
and then
I knew you had good taste.
yeah, no. And Banjo-Kazooie also comes to mind. But like I was like trying to think of a game that I feel like I could have like just like a conversation about, and a game that not only means a lot to me, but like a game that has been a part of my life for so long and has impacted a lot of my own opinions on the games that I play now, or like even genres that I never explored before. And so the game today really did have an impact on me in a lot of ways. So
let's get right into it. What game have you picked to talk about today?
I have brought along with me Kingdom Hearts 2.
Yes, I'm very excited to talk about this. So what's the main reason that like immediately pops in your head for like what makes you really want to talk about Kingdom Hearts 2?
It's honestly the gameplay. Like it's one of those games that its gameplay is basically like the whole like soul factor, like carrying it on its back, because I've played all of the Kingdom Hearts games. It's a franchise that I have so many mixed opinions on. That's also why I felt like it would be a good conversation piece, because like it is a franchise that I'm so mixed on, but I love so deeply. And just back in June, when the games released on Steam for the first time, I bought them all. And I was like, I've got to like replay these games in chronological order. And I kind of hated the experience almost, because I played Kingdom Hearts 1 and I'm in Discord calls with my friends and I'm complaining about it the whole time. Like I like Kingdom Hearts 1. I think it's fine, but it's kind of just aged poorly because of its sequel just like overshadowing it in every aspect that I'm like, wow, this level design sucks. This combat sucks. I don't want to play this anymore. Can I get to Kingdom Hearts 2 already? And so I played through Kingdom Hearts 1. I attempted to play Chain of Memories, and I was like, nope, that's not happening. I'm not playing
Not in
Chain
the
of
mood for
Memories.
card games.
No, I have been a hater of Chain of Memories since I was a young kid. When I discovered it in a Target, like randomly, like the PS2 remake, because I thought it was a new game. I didn't know it was a remake of a GBA game. But
Oh,
like
yep.
7-year-old me is not gonna like know the difference.
Yeah.
And I remember playing it on my PS2, and I was so excited to play this new Kingdom Hearts game. I'm like, wow, this is boring. Because the thing about Kingdom Hearts 2, and like the reason why it's had such an impact on my, like, even my opinion of the series, was unlike most people, it was the first Kingdom Hearts game I played. Because my grandparents, I remember like vaguely the memory, it was me and my brother had gone to the dentist, and we were really good at the dentist. So my grandma took us to GameStop and was like, you can buy whatever game you want. And I saw a game with Mickey Mouse on the cover, and I was like, hell yeah, I'm in. Sign me up. And then I played it when I got home. I remember playing it on like the smallest CRT like imaginable. Like I think it was like the TV was like on a pole, like this thing in my grandparents' like guest room, and it was like the smallest thing you can imagine. And I played all of Kingdom Hearts 2 on that. And I had no idea what was going on, but I loved it. And I think that's just kind of a testament to its own gameplay, because its story structure is just so all over the place. And even, like 8-year-old me was like, wow, this game rules. It's so fun to play.
So it's really interesting for me, because I kind of have an outsider's perspective on Kingdom Hearts, because
Mm-hmm.
on paper, Kingdom Hearts probably should be like my favorite franchise ever, like an action RPG that also like combines with like Disney stuff, just because I'm a huge Disney and like musical theater like nerd person. Like I should be over the moon or over any game that lets you like visit Tarzan and listen to Phil Collins music and stuff like that. But I've only played like the first third of Kingdom Hearts 1, and I know it's one of those series that like whenever I get the time to actually like go through the whole franchise, and whenever like I can click with it, I know I'm gonna love it, but I've never quite been able to have that like click moment of, okay, I'm gonna play through this whole series, like this is my project. And so a lot of the time I feel like if you're outside of the Kingdom Hearts fandom, like mostly you don't hear a lot of like kind of gameplay discussion around the series. Like all anyone really talks about is the story, because you have a whole bunch of people that lean into the like everything's too complicated meme, and then you have the fandom, which just likes to get really in depth on like, oh, these characters, I like their interactions, or like what's going to happen with like this plot element and everything. And so the one like kind of gameplay focused thing that I do hear pretty frequently about Kingdom Hearts is that Kingdom Hearts 2 apparently kicks ass, and apparently in particular the gameplay like kicks so much ass that it's actually like one of the better video game randomizers that have come out. So I was actually going to ask, have you played any of the Kingdom Hearts 2 randomizer?
I have, and that's really funny because we did talk about the Ocarina of Time randomizer earlier. But yeah, I discovered the Kingdom Hearts 2 randomizer. I'm like, I gotta play this on stream. And it was so much fun. It's absolutely bonkers, and it's so difficult too, and it's kind of why I love it. Kingdom Hearts 2 is like an interesting game for me because I'm very much a person that likes a chill experience when I play a game. I don't really think about difficulty that much. I'm not like a Dark Souls fan or anything like that. And so Kingdom Hearts 2 is a game where I'm like, I'm going to play that on critical mode. And I'm going to hate it for like an hour because the beginning of the game really sucks. But once it picks up, it just like, it feels like one of the best like designed RPGs that I've just like ever played. And the randomizer really like helps it out because it just like, it shortens the length because like runs usually take about like 4 hours or something like that. And also like it's just like the random qualities of it. Like you play it on critical mode, but then you also like just like one of my favorite things to do is just mod the hell out of it. I had a stupid mod that turned all of the Organization 13 members into the Winnie the Pooh characters. And so I get to like and I had no idea which like organization member was which because I was like skipping all the cutscenes because I'm like, I don't want to know. I want to go in completely blind. And I get to the final boss and it's Winnie the Pooh. And I was laughing so hard. And I remember another thing that was just like hilarious was I had a Luigi mod on Mickey. So when the Door to Darkness cutscene happened, it was delivered by Luigi instead of Mickey Mouse. And I'm rambling a little bit, but like, yeah, the randomizer is just really good. I got it set up for my friend as well, and she loves it too. And I think I made like interesting thing about randomizers, and this is just a complete tangent a little bit, but like I've met like such a community of like great people because I like got really into Zelda randomizers. And yeah, like it always like one of the things I just really like about these games is like sometimes the communities are so strong that you make new friends through it. And I just think that's really awesome. But side tangent done. Yeah, Kingdom Hearts randomizer is awesome, and I recommend it to anybody, especially if you've played the game a million times and you're looking for something new, because the experience is completely different. Getting the most difficult enemies early on in the game it's terrifying, but it's awesome.
I find that really interesting because there is a lot of games by this point that have like randomizer mods or things like that. But I feel like Kingdom Hearts 2 is one of those games where just its gameplay style combines really well with the randomization, or just the structure of it lends itself really well to being interesting and fun to play through while randomized. And that's what I've always really appreciated about both Ocarina of Time, Link to the Past, some of the Dark Souls games where they obviously weren't designed with randomization in mind, but something about how well they work with that, it becomes almost an entirely new game, and it just lends itself really well to like, oh yeah, like I could play this gameplay loop like for hours and hours more if it's going to give me like a new order of things every time. So I think that's super interesting, especially when Kingdom Hearts, a lot of its kind of reputation is so focused on just like its story and characters and everything. The fact that one of its gameplay is so solid and so adaptable that it just works in all those random situations. It's really cool.
Randomizers are so interesting because like um I've met new people through this, and like I have a couple of friends that introduced me to Archipelago, and I don't know if you're familiar with that at all, but essentially it's where we can all run a randomizer like of a different game, but our items are shuffled between them. And it is crazy fun. I did a run a while ago, and my friend was playing Kingdom Hearts 2, and it was really funny to watch him play Kingdom Hearts 2 because he hadn't touched it in years. And so he had no idea what the hell he was doing. And I'm playing Ocarina of Time. I'm completely in my comfort zone. But like finding like keyblades in Ocarina of Time is just an insanely like weird thing. And I'm just so glad that we've gotten to a point in gaming where like people are figuring this kind of stuff out, because when I was 7, I could have never imagined playing Ocarina of Time alongside somebody playing Kingdom Hearts 2 and the game's connecting. Like that's crazy.
It's actually even just like crazy from the last few years, because I remember in the early days whenever like the Ocarina of Time randomizer kind of the current edition we know now is like just getting started, that actually has the logic and everything. I remember there was so many things where it was like I know you guys would really like this feature, but don't be like expecting it, because this is going to be like really hard to code. Like there's just so many things that we probably won't be able to connect, or like Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, like connecting, like that is so like far down the road. We'll never ever get there. And now it's like literally, yeah, people have like 5 different games connecting into one like organized logic puzzle of like who has to get what items when. It's so cool, and just all the different combos of games and just mods and PC ports. And we made so much progress on these kind of fan communities for older games, and letting them be experienced in like cool new ways. Just within like the last 5 years alone is mind blowing how much progress there's been.
It definitely adds to the replayability of these games too, like because I never expected to be playing Ocarina of Time once a month, but here I am 27 years old playing Ocarina of Time once a month. And one thing that I just like I find so insanely cool is like how accessible this stuff is. Like it's so easy to set up, there's so many games that you can do it with, and it's just so much fun to see like how one randomizer is different from the other, you know? Because like I play both Ocarina of Time and the Majora's Mask randomizer, and those are so completely different because Majora's Mask is on a completely different scale, and you never think
Mhm.
about it when you play those games like in their base forms, because it's just it breathes new life into the games. And especially with Kingdom Hearts, because you were kind of talking about how like the gameplay really lends itself. One of the things that like I really like about it is the it's an RPG, so you've got growth throughout the game and you're going to get stronger abilities as you go on. But one thing with Kingdom Hearts is that like the biggest like aspect is the abilities and like all the movement stuff and what they do to like affect your character. And especially with the randomizer, when you have such a limited number of like ability points and you have to like pick and choose how you want to play the game, it feels so insanely cool to like put those puzzle pieces together yourself and just play it your way. um
Mhm.
I've had to figure out strategies for bosses that I never would have thought of if I was playing the game regularly. And that's just so cool, I think. Especially with Kingdom Hearts, because again, Kingdom Hearts 2 has some of my favorite bosses in video game history. Like Lingering Will is one of the hardest freaking things I've ever like touched in a video game. I had to like sit on my stream and play that freaking boss for like 4 hours, and I hated every second of it, but it was so insanely cool once I finished. And I felt like it was like the first time I felt in a game where I was like, wow, I really worked hard on that. I feel rewarded after I like finished it. And um the completion bonuses in the game aren't crazy, but like the little crown that Sora gets when you like beat the hardest like difficulties in the game, it just feels like such a little like comfort piece. Like I did this. It's my trophy.
Mhm.
And yeah.
So you mentioned that you had actually played Kingdom Hearts 2 before you played Kingdom Hearts 1, and that Kingdom Hearts 1, especially coming back to it recently, was a bit disappointing to you. Is there anything kind of major that Kingdom Hearts 2 like added to the or to itself that makes it so much better than Kingdom Hearts 1 in your experience, or is it just that it's a more polished, refined version of Kingdom Hearts 1?
I think in like because like now that I've been able to play them back to back for the first time in years, I really realized that like Kingdom Hearts 2, just like the movement is really just the movement of the game that makes everything
Mm.
feel better. In Kingdom Hearts 1, it's like it was a game that I remember them like because I've watched interviews, I've read up about Kingdom Hearts 1, I've read about the history, and it really feels like a game that was trying to be like a mix of genres in a way. It wanted to be both action RPG, but it also wanted to be a platformer. And I feel like the level design is especially where the game gets bogged down, because you've got these like boring platforming sections that are pretty hard to traverse because it's pretty early PlayStation 2 controls. Um,
Mhm.
And it's just never like I don't know how to explain it. Everything just feels so slow. But then when you play Kingdom Hearts 2, everything is just so fast paced. It's going a million miles a minute. And it's truly what I love about it is like I've never like to this day I've never played an RPG that feels like Kingdom Hearts 2. I've never played an action game that feels like Kingdom Hearts 2. And
Mhm.
I know that there was like this whole joke like back in like the 2000s about like it's a game where you press X to win. And like it's kind of true, but it's so fun to do it. And there's a lot more nuance to, especially if you play it on the harder difficulties, because on critical mode you got to be thinking every second. You've got to be
Mhm.
reacting to things, you've got to know your spells, you've got to know everything. You know, when I was a kid, I was playing the game on beginner mode because I was scared of any challenge in a video game. It's really funny to think about 7-year-old me and how like different we are now. But
Yeah.
um yeah, like sure the game was press X to win when I was younger, but like the movement just felt so strong. And to this day, I have so many hours on my PS4 copy of Kingdom Hearts 2 simply because sometimes I just boot it up because I want to like glide around and do jumps and stuff. Like it is
Mhm.
just a fun game to turn on. You don't even need to play through the game. You can just move around in it and it feels fun. And that's I think one of its like strongest aspects.
That's really interesting because as someone that's only played like Kingdom Hearts 1, I kind of just assumed that the rest of the mainline series were like in that vein and that the improvements for 2 had just been like a bit of polishing or that there'd be more like strategic like kind of more options on the menu to pick, like that was where they'd flesh it out. But the fact that apparently like the actual movement and just the game feel was improved so much, and that's what makes the sequel really good. That makes me excited for whenever I get around to actually trying those. That'll be like a big upgrade. And it is. It also does go to show like just how important that like core gameplay can be because it is the thing that you do for most of the game for every video game. Like that core feeling of moving around should at least feel good to keep people coming back because you don't want people having a crummy time or always being like, yeah, this protagonist sure does move slow. Like you want a good impression.
Yeah, and it's so jarring too because like I kind of wanted to talk about like how Kingdom Hearts as a franchise is so like it's an up and down roller coaster because you've got Kingdom Hearts 1 which feels so slow. You've got Chain of Memories which has the most boring gameplay on the planet. And then you got Kingdom Hearts 2 which is mwah, it's chef's kiss, it's perfect. And then you go to play Birth by Sleep and you're like, wow, that sure is a PSP game. And I like it's so funny because I remember when Kingdom Hearts 3 came out. And it was one of if not my most anticipated game of like all time. I remember the feeling of finally getting home and getting to put it in my PS4 and like being like I finally have it. It's mine.
I
And then I
made it.
play and then I played through it and I don't hate Kingdom Hearts 3, but I don't love it. And I
Mm.
think Kingdom Hearts is such a series, and I've explained this to my friends because a lot of them were like, Dusty, it sounds like you don't want me to play this game at all. And I'm like, kind of. That's kind of what I'm getting at is like, you kind of just had to be there for the moment or the cultural impact that 2 had in order to
Mhm.
like kind of feel what it was. And because it's such like a time capsule of the PS2 era and how games were constantly changing. Because I think about it like with so many franchises, like you know, like Jack and Daxter, where like your sequels are so much different than the first game in the series, and Kingdom Hearts really just feels like that, where it's like every game has its own distinct feel, and it's not bad, but it's just so hard when you love one like you know people will say it's overrated or maybe you're like biased and like yeah it feels a little bit like biased you know because Kingdom Hearts 2 is just such a strong experience that following up that is just so difficult. in
Mhm.
any regard. And it's not even just like the story, it's the level design too. Something about the way Kingdom Hearts 2 and its like Disney worlds are designed just feels like perfect, and the movies that they chose to adapt feel perfect. I mean, you've got a couple of stinkers in there, but like uh Atlantica was sure something. um
I've seen some memes about that.
it's so funny because you said you're like a musical theater nerd, and I'm also a musical theater nerd. But when I play video games, I don't know if I want to sit through a whole musical number, unless
Yeah.
the game is digging the vibe that it wants to go into a musical number. Um, and Kingdom Hearts has this interesting history with musical numbers because it's got a whole world dedicated to just being a rhythm game. And inherently that sounds cool, but the rhythm game sucks and the songs also suck. And that's like because they were it was like PS2 era, and like voice acting in these games weren't exactly like the highest regard. And so like you've got Haley Joel Osment on Sora attempting to sing a song from The Little Mermaid, and it is maybe the funniest thing I've ever heard because he can't hit any notes. And it's just so clear that the characters weren't ever meant to sing, but they wanted to because it is essentially a game that's supposed to be, I mean, it is a game that's supposed to be a love letter to Disney's history
Mhm.
as musicals too. And I find it really interesting that in the third game they decided to just recreate Frozen like scene for
Yeah,
scene.
let's just redo Let It Go.
Yeah, and I remember the moment I hit that, like I already wasn't like the biggest fan of the Frozen level. It was already pretty mediocre. And then you get to the song and you're like, what the hell is happening? What direction is this game taking? Um but it's just Kingdom Hearts is just so interesting to me. It's like just such a fascinating like tidbit of like this should have never happened. This game shouldn't exist, and yet it's here and it does, and it's such a long-lasting franchise that it's still going to this day, to the point where like every spin-off is canon. And that
Yep.
is incredibly frustrating as a fan because I don't really want to play the mobile games. And honestly, I think the weakest aspect of Kingdom Hearts is its story. Um, it's it's like it feels like a bunch of jumbled pieces being thrown together to make something. And I don't hate
Mhm.
every like aspect of it. I've got my favorite characters. I like that Sora's kind of a dunce. And I definitely like all the Disney characters. Like just like the magic of like seeing Final Fantasy designs side by side with Donald and Goofy is just inherently funny. And this last year I actually I I had not played any Final Fantasy games up until like 15 came out. And then
Mhm.
that was the only one I played, and then I just didn't play the series forever. And then last year my friend made me play Final Fantasy 7. And going back and replaying Kingdom Hearts after playing Final Fantasy 7 was really weird because those
Oh, I know who
characters,
these people are now.
I know who they are, and they're written completely different. Like Cloud's
Mm.
just like he's an emo boy. He's so mysterious, and I'm like, no, Cloud's not always like that. He can be fun, uh, but it's just like so interesting, like to even think about like the history behind it because it's such a fascinating thing that like it happened over an elevator pitch. Like that's still crazy to me to this day that Kingdom Hearts exists because uh like two people from two different companies got in an elevator together and they're like, hey, what if we made this? And then they did it. And it still boggles my mind to this day that even happened.
Yeah, it's such a crazy origin story and just what it's grown into with like multiple huge like main installment games, all these spin-offs, and all the spin-offs are canon. Um And it's really interesting that because I find I've heard so many different perspectives on Kingdom Hearts story by this point without actually having experienced it for myself. Um because so a few years ago I actually did a few test episodes of Your Fave Game, and it was more of like a live on Twitch podcast, but I actually did have a test episode where I interviewed my friend Kate about Kingdom Hearts 2, and most of what they talked about was the story or how much they enjoyed kind of the characters of the franchise, and not even like the crossover characters, but like the original characters. And so it's really fascinating to me that like it has this kind of gimmicky starting point. And to be clear, a gimmick that is not an obvious gimmick at all, but like, let's combine Final Fantasy and Disney characters into one like huge sprawling adventure. Like, that is not an obvious, this is what our next game should be. But they were able to take that and we're able to make a franchise that like means a lot to people, and there's a lot of people that are super invested in these stories and these characters, and are still like really looking forward to like what's going to happen in Kingdom Hearts 4, like what's that going to lead to.
It's so funny to be like, the story's the like weakest aspect, but I can't lie if I don't want to see what happens next, and I gotta know what happens to Sora, because I've given Sora 20 years of my life. He owes it to me to let me know how it finishes at this point, you know?
So I guess speaking of Kingdom Hearts 4, I don't think there's been a whole lot of info revealed about that game so far. I think it's been like one or two trailers or teases or something. Is there anything from Kingdom Hearts 2 that you hope that Kingdom Hearts 4 like brings back that wasn't in 3, or anything that they kind of veered away from with 3 that you hope they come back to in 4?
That's a good question, because like I've had a lot of time to reflect on 3 and like the things that I don't like about it, because it's definitely got some great ideas, but I feel like um a lot of times the combat was just like too easy, and I would like to feel a challenge again in a Kingdom Hearts game. But essentially, like the biggest aspect to me is like I really just like want to see the worlds treated the same way they were in 2, um because I felt like in 3 it felt a lot like you were just like going beat for beat, like, oh, this is a Disney movie, go inside it, get out of it, go to next Disney movie, go like it was like a
Mhm.
continuing cycle. And especially one of the biggest issues I had was that a lot of the worlds in 3 just wanted to retell their movie's story, which like Kingdom Hearts has done before, but like you had enough variety that it didn't like hurt the game itself. Because another thing that 3 really like brought down for me was that there just wasn't much of it. Like the first half of the game is essentially going through the Disney worlds, and then the second half is the Keyblade Graveyard. And the Keyblade Graveyard is awesome. I love that like section of the game. I think it's awesome. It's fan service galore, but the Disney worlds, I feel like just are such a strong aspect of the series, and I feel like in 3 they just weren't mainly a focus. Like it was just like, oh, but we have to do this. Um and
Mhm.
I would just really like to see more worlds in 4 that feel handpicked almost, and just feel like a natural progression to Sora's story or whatever things are going on in 4, because I have no idea what the hell is going to happen for. But I I also would like to see some returning worlds, because that's a thing that 2 did super well was you revisited places from 1, but you know like things have changed and they were almost like pseudo sequels to the movies, and that was always
Mhm.
just like so cool. Like you could go through Nightmare Before Christmas, but it's a sequel now. It's a new story being told in this world that you already love. And like 3 kind of did that with the Big Hero 6 level. I thought the Big Hero 6 level story wise was really cool game, like, but the level design was really bad. And it felt like a lot of it was just like such big open spaces that were just filled with nothing. And a lot of the worlds in 3 felt like that because it was like, oh, it's this big PS4 game. We got to make big open spaces, but we're not going to put anything in it. And it's going to take forever to walk around. And I mean, the old games aren't exactly like shy of that either. Kingdom Hearts 2 definitely has that problem in places, but like it's also part of that era where like PS2 games were just kind of like, that's kind of what they did. And I feel like the complaint is just like, be more concise with your level design and make it feel more just lived in. And I mean, obviously the technology is going to improve by the time 4 comes out. So I have no idea what they're planning. But also like one of my favorite aspects of 2's worlds, like the best aspect is that there's 2 halves to every world. Like you go through each world for a first time and it tells its story, and then you have to revisit them, and like there's new shit going down, and it like that was so cool. And then 3 didn't do that at all. You just visit the worlds once and you're done with them, and it made the characters feel like they were really making an impact in 2. And like it's so funny because like I don't talk about how like 2's story is like important to me, but I do feel like it's important that it feels like the stuff that you're doing feels impactful and that it's making a difference in the like levels. Just pick some cool stuff. I don't know. Like I don't know what worlds I'd want to see, but I think an Incredibles world would be really cool. I know that would be cool.
Yeah. I'm curious if they're gonna use Disney owning like Marvel or Star Wars, if they'll take advantage of that, or if they'll try and stick with just like the animated movies.
Oh,
Well, I guess
absolutely.
they've had like Pirates of the Caribbean and everything, but
Yeah, well, and like I remember when 4's teaser trailer came out and people were analyzing the hell out of it like they do online, and people are already figuring out that there's probably a Star Wars level. So
interesting.
yeah, I want to know what that lightsaber keyblade would look like. That's what's in my brain.
Yeah, you could have some sick designs with that. Yeah, I think that's a really key thing about games that you said, that it feels a lot more impactful in Kingdom Hearts 2, like revisiting areas, whereas Kingdom Hearts 3 is more of a, oh, we'll visit this spot, we'll say hi to Mike and Sully, and then we'll leave for the next Pixar or like next musical number or whatever. But if you're actually like returning to locations and they're active locations that you're supposed to come back to, like for shops, or like even if it's just the NPCs now have different stuff to say and like comment on your journey, like that just little amount of like kind of world building and having the world change as you go along, or having you have to go back to places and feeling like a more cohesive kind of game space that you're exploring. I think that goes a long way, and it's interesting that like a PS2 game is more interested in like maintaining that, like this is a world you can revisit, and everything that happened and the characters are going to remember it, that it does more of that than like a big PS4 showcase game.
Yeah, and 3 really feels like this game that I don't know if it was rushed, but like it feels like its development was so messy because it like started all the way back in 2012 and then it didn't release until like 2017, and so it went through so many changes. And I can't believe for the life of me that, you know, like Frozen was originally going to be a world in that game, or you know, like, or maybe that was Disney like forcing it in because it was so big at the time. But it really felt like it just wanted to get to the second half of the game, which granted, I could gush about the second half of Kingdom Hearts 3 because it is really that good. But it just feels like like I said, it just feels like you're doing it by the numbers. Like I have to do this world, and then it's just gone. And Kingdom Hearts 1 kind of has that problem too, but Kingdom Hearts 1 was also the first game. And so with a sequel, you want to improve and learn from like what changes can you make to make this better, you know? And it really felt like 3 just didn't want to be like 2, which is fine, but also they were promising like a big the follow up to Kingdom Hearts 2. It was supposed to be the end of this saga. It was a game that people waited years and years for. And I don't know if that's on the fans for having too high of hopes, you know, partial. I do feel like I need to replay 3 because I was doing my marathon, but I got like halfway through Dream Drop Distance and I'm like, I got to take a break from these for a while because I was getting too much Kingdom Hearts in too little time. But I want to replay 3 because I feel like it's the game that deserves a replay the most, because I need to know how I feel differently about it now versus when it released. Because it's been a long time.
Like, again, I haven't played these games, but even I knew that like Kingdom Hearts 3 finally coming out was a big deal. Like there was a whole lot of hype for it, and it was something that people had been like asking for and looking forward to like since Kingdom Hearts 2 came out. So it finally coming out, there was a whole lot of expectations on it. And I think I think it's really interesting because I have heard from a lot of people that they were pretty satisfied with like the actual Kingdom Hearts story and how that was done in Kingdom Hearts 3. And I'm assuming that's like what the back half of the game is mostly focused on, is like wrapping up this trilogy and all the spin-offs, like plot lines, or as much as they decided to before they've obviously continued the series past that point. But I think they were really focused on like paying off that aspect and maybe weren't able to put in as much focus on making sure every Disney World feels as fleshed out and things like that.
Also, 3 is missing like one of the biggest elements of this crossover. Final Fantasy characters aren't in it. They're just not in it. Like there's no cameos from like well, the DLC has Final Fantasy characters, but they're in one building and they just kind of show up for a cutscene and that's it. But it's so interesting that this whole series started and like I like the fact that Kingdom Hearts has found its own identity. Like it doesn't need Final Fantasy anymore, you know, like it can be its own thing. But
we have our own spiky haired protagonist.
Yeah, exactly. But like also, you know, Kingdom Hearts 3 was like this big sequel that everyone was waiting for, and it's like you can't even show like your, you know, like your legacy here a little bit. Like,
yeah,
even just have them appear in like Twilight Town or something. Like it just felt like they didn't really want to do anything with the Final Fantasy characters, or they didn't know how to incorporate them into the story. And it really stinks because like one of the best elements of 2, even if I can't talk about 2's story very much because it's a convoluted mess, but there's this section of the game called the Battle of 1,000 Heartless, and it is like it's the halfway point of the game, and it is the best point in the game. It is absolutely like where things like they like the game is like really fun up to that point, and then it just like skyrockets and it just gets so much better. It's the part where Goofy dies, you know. Iconic spoiler, by the way. Goofy well, he lives, but they make you believe he dies, and then Mickey Mouse gets all like really pissed off and says, "They'll pay for this." And it's so Kingdom Hearts in general is just really funny to look back at now. It's such a like silly game, but anyway, I'm rambling. You get to the section and you partner up with the Final Fantasy characters. They help you fight through the Heartless, and it's just so cool. Like you do like this backslash thing with Cloud, and it's like, oh, that's Cloud from Final Fantasy VII. I love you,
my hero.
Yeah, but I just felt like 3 was missing that. Like like they. Well, I mean, it's not even more feeling. It's just truly they were missing the Final Fantasy characters.
I'm super curious how much more of a say, or at least like how many more people were attending like the meetings from Disney's side of things by the time 3 was happening. Because I feel like for the first 2 games, Disney probably wasn't paying much attention. It's like, yeah, we'll license out the characters. You can have our voice actors for Mickey and Goofy and Donald, but like go wild. But then whenever it became like a big thing and people are really hyped up for like Kingdom Hearts 3. I wonder if that's when they're like, well, we should probably put in our latest hit musical Frozen if we're going to have a big Disney
And
video
let's
game. And
recreate the whole musical number because it's so insanely cool that the technology has come
paid
this far.
Idina Menzel so much for this song. We should probably get some more use out of it. I'd be curious to know the behind the scenes on that, if it's a case of Disney starting to put a bit more influence than maybe Square Enix was willing to put in.
Yeah, because I think around that time was because I think 15 had just come out, like Final Fantasy 15, and Square was also working on the 7 remake probably at the same time, and I can't help but feel that there was so much just Disney say in Kingdom Hearts 3, which like to be fair, it is also a Disney game, but you really just kind of like feel like the corporateness of it all in that game, because it feels like I said, it just feels like you have to do these Disney worlds. So let's put in Tangled, let's put in Frozen, both movies I really like, but like it just felt like Frozen was there just to be like, wow guys, look, it's Frozen, it's got funny snowman guy. But I
remember to buy Let It Go on iTunes.
Yeah, it really just felt that way, because it felt like really what, at least the feeling I was getting from the game was it really wanted to do a lot of the Pixar stuff, and I would have really liked to see more Pixar representation, because I thought just even like seeing Woody and Buzz in that game was so insanely cool. The like just the fact that
I love all of the like, because I haven't played the game again, but like even I've seen the clips of Woody deciding to face off with like the main bad guy of the series, and
no
it's
one's
like, hell yeah, Woody, you tell him.
Yeah, it looks like No One's Ever Loved You Before, delivered by Woody from Toy Story. And there's also the scene in the Monsters Inc. level where Sully stuffs Vanitas into a door, and he just like grabs it, throws it into another door, throws it into another, and it's like so aggressive, and I'm like, this is awesome, do more of this, and then it doesn't do any more of that. And I felt like the Pixar characters actually had the most impact on like at least the story, because they would interact with the villains, that sort of thing.
I could see the Pixar crossovers being a bit more natural, or like what the dev team was really like wanting to do. Like, oh, for the next, like, we'll start adding in some Pixar stuff. And then it was also like, guys, remember, we just put out Frozen.
Yeah, exactly. It's also so insane to me that Kingdom Hearts Toy Story looks better than Toy Story 1. Like visually, it's like,
yeah,
it's that's crazy to me. Like the fact that game technology has come so far that we're looking better than animated movies from the late 90s.
Literally just like more polygons probably in Woody's hat than like his entire like movie model for the first movie. It's crazy. Just kind of wrapping up here. There's someone that's never touched a Kingdom Hearts game or is but potentially interested in getting into the series. What would be your kind of final selling point for Kingdom Hearts 2?
Run as fast as no,
don't play it.
Yeah, don't play it. Don't do it. You're gonna hate yourself afterwards.
It's my favorite. It doesn't have to be yours.
No, it's yeah, because that's actually a very fun question, because I've had this interaction with my friends lately where I'm like, the way I recommend this series is I'm like, maybe don't play it from the beginning, but if you want to know everything, sure. If you don't care about story and you just want to play fun gameplay, play 2, because 2 is just really a testament to how strong its gameplay is. Like, that's what I've rambled about today, but like it really is just a game that feels so fun to pick up and play, that even if you don't know what the hell's going on, you're gonna have a fun time. And I think that's just kind of a testament to just how great its design is. because there's multiple series that are so like scary to like have a jumping in point because like their lore is so deep, or like you never played the previous games and so you have no idea if you're going to understand the story. And I promise you, if you pick up 2, you're not going to understand the story. I doubt you'll even understand the story if you play the 2 games that came before it. But it's just fun.
Either way, you're gonna be lost. Yeah.
Listen, I've played every game in the series. I was still confused by the end of it. Like the very end of 3, I'm like, oh, okay. Like
I guess that makes sense.
Sure. Yep. That. Dreaming worlds. Whatever. Yep. Hearts. Darkness. Light. Yeah.
All these fun proper nouns.
And then it ends with like a Steven Universe villain ending, and it is so funny to me how the actual 3 ends, but that's a whole other conversation.
So yeah, I'm you've actually got me considering playing 2 before 1. Well, I could see myself deciding to just power through 1 and then hop into 2, but this I didn't know just how different gameplay wise or like movement wise in particular 2 had been improved to 1. So I might have to give that a little look-see.
I mean, yeah, even if you watch the gameplay side by side, like you pull up a YouTube video and you watch gameplay from 2 and you watch gameplay from 1, it is so drastically different. Like even just like visually with whatever the hell is going on, it is bonkers. And just saying, if 7-year-old me had no idea what was going on in Kingdom Hearts 2, I'm sure anybody else can have no idea what's going on in Kingdom Hearts 2 and still have fun.
Yeah. So yeah, I've really enjoyed having this conversation tonight. If people wanted to find you somewhere on the internet, Dustin, where could they find you?
Yeah, so I'm on Twitter, X. It's Dusty.
Whatever they're calling it these days.
Yeah, it's Dusty_Daddy_ because my name was already taken. I stream sometimes on Twitch at Dusty_Daddy. Again, my name was already taken, which is really funny because I never expected Dusty Daddy to be taken.
What are all these Dusty Daddies doing
Yeah, like
there?
when are we gonna have a meetup? Like when's the Dusty Daddy meetup? And yeah, I've also got a YouTube channel at Dusty Daddy. I would also probably like appreciate it if people checked out Up Download. That's like kind of blog site sort of thing that I'm doing with some friends. It's gaming related.
That's
yeah,
catchy.
Yeah, you should check it out. It's pretty cool. That's where we're playing Archipelago speedruns or randomizers. I don't know. Both kind of the same thing, essentially, because like if you're playing randomizers, you got to learn speedrun tactics. So, but
yeah, if you're watching this, you should know I'm Josh Busker. I'm here on YouTube, Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. Been live streaming the Link to the Past roguelike game that a fan made a lot recently. Very excited about that. And I have music, Hippie Pop, an album. Check it out wherever you stream music. It's pretty good in my opinion if you like some rock and roll. So thank you, Dusty Daddy, for being an awesome guest today. Thank you to all the listeners for tuning in. And I will see you all next time. So have a great night, everyone.
bye-bye.
Bye-bye.